Early in my business, I found myself involved in every detail and decision. I learned the hard way that I was a bottleneck in my own business. I was micromanaging everything, from approving every little bit of marketing to overseeing customer service and running our events. I thought I was ensuring quality, but in reality, I was slowing everything down. My team constantly waited for my go-ahead, and the workflow became incredibly inefficient. I was also quite reluctant to delegate. I had a willing team, but I just couldn't let go of some tasks because I felt like I was the only one who could do them right, or that it would be just so much faster if I did them myself. I was overwhelmed, juggling too many responsibilities that others could easily handle. I was exhausted, and I bet my team felt frustrated and underutilized. Finally, there was my slow decision-making. I overanalyzed every choice because I didn't want to make mistakes and I wanted everything to be just perfect. This led to some missed opportunities and stalled projects. For example, we had a great marketing campaign ready, but taking my sweet time to approve it meant we ended up scrambling and wasting valuable marketing time. At one point, I remember one of my team members calling me Ms. Lastminute.com. It was funny, but I got what she meant. Now, realizing these patterns in my leadership was a game changer. I started trusting my team more, delegating tasks, putting in place project plans, and empowering the team to make decisions. We established really clear processes to streamline decision-making, allowing us to act quickly and efficiently. And by stepping back and removing myself as a bottleneck, my business not only grew, but also became a more enjoyable place to work, both for my team and for me. And team members started to work together better and more proactively to move projects forward. This is a topic that I love, and it's why I'm excited about today's guest and our conversation about how to stop being a bottleneck in your business. Welcome to the HerBusiness Podcast, where we dive deep into the stories of women entrepreneurs making their mark. I'm your host, Susie Daphnis, and I'm the CEO at HerBusiness. Today I'm joined by HerBusiness member and renowned expert on hiring and teams, Kristy-Lee Billett of People Powered PR. She has years of experience helping small business owners like you streamline their businesses and achieve remarkable growth. And she has seen firsthand just how detrimental bottlenecks can be to a business's success. Now, in this episode, she's going to share some valuable insights and practical strategies for recognizing and eliminating those bottlenecks, which lets your business flourish. Plus, we're going to look at one of the biggest challenges business owners face, and that's the tendency to micromanage. So if you've ever been that boss, and I know I have been, Kristy-Lee is going to walk you through why micromanaging is extremely bad for your business. And she gives away the secrets that are going to foster both autonomy and high performance within your team so that you can take a much needed step back. She's an incredible leader and teacher who herself has made the step to pivot from traditional revenue streams to build out a business that is her ideal business. You'll hear about that. And I think you'll really enjoy that part of the conversation. And she believes that leadership is truly a learnable skill, not an innate trait. And thank goodness for that. The good news is that she also shares that with practice and the right resources, you can become the type of leader that empowers your team to step into their roles and lead a successful business with confidence and clarity, getting yourself out of your own way. So let's jump into it. Hey, Kristy-Lee, great to have you here.
Susie, thanks so much for inviting me to be part of this. I'm really excited.
I'm really excited about our topic today because we're both working with women every day who are growing and scaling their businesses, and growing a team in becoming a leader is such an important part to a thriving, sustainable business. So I want to start where most of us start, in that we can be very much at one with our business, have a deep emotional investment in our business. And I want to ask you, with all the experience that you have working with business owners, how do you feel that emotional investment in our business impacts our ability to be open to hiring team members and bringing other people into our world?
It's such a great question, Susie. I think as business owners, as you said, we're so invested that our businesses are really an extension of ourselves and our lives and really form part of our being. And we tend to map that thinking across to our team. And really that can impact us in terms of we hire people and think that they are kind of part of our family, and try and treat them like part of our family. And I hear that so often from the business owners I work with. We also tend to hire people that are like us, because we, again, think we're surrounding ourselves with the right people in doing that. And on top of that, we tend to always want to see the best in people and think, well, we can make this work, and it's our responsibility as a business owner to look after this person just like it's our responsibility to look after our family. And it can really blur the lines of how we are best and most effectively able to lead and manage people, and taking on too much because we've sort of embedded this team into our lives overall. And that can become really challenging. And that's one of the biggest problems that I see business owners face when they're so invested in their own business. They bring that investment to their team, and they kind of expect their team to be equally invested in the business, which is very much a trap that a lot of business owners fall into.
Oh, that's so interesting. And I know I've definitely been there. And ultimately, we're probably the ones who are working on the weekend, we're staying late at night, and we're doing all the things that need to be done because it is our business and ultimately we're responsible. Not that we should be working on weekends and working into the evenings. That's what we bring on team for. But I think really knowing that our baby, as a lot of us refer to our business, is not everyone else's concern. Right. One of the things that we need to do as business owners is start to transition from being in all the details to actually delegating and having a team take on things that we've previously been responsible for. What psychological challenges do you think small business owners face with that transition, and how can they effectively evolve to have thinking that does allow them to focus on their key genius and allow the team members to do some of the other detail?
Yeah, so many challenges. I think you've really touched on the right area here. They are psychological challenges that we're facing. They're not, operational challenges. It's really hard sometimes to step into that mindset of being the boss in the business. And there are a few issues that tend to come up commonly. Often as business owners and entrepreneurs, we are a certain type of individual. Often we're considered a type A personality or a very, very strong-willed personality. And quite often also we are perfectionists who may or may not have some trust issues. So we always have the perception we can do it better, that we can do it faster, that it's easier if we do it ourselves. And the truth is that thinking holds the growth of our businesses back. And the reality is we shouldn't be expecting our team members to do things as fast or as good or as perfectly as we would, because it's not their business. And if they were that way wired, they'd be running their own businesses, not working for us. So I think the biggest psychological challenge is around dealing with all of that and really unpacking our expectations, because quite often we put our team members on a pedestal expecting really huge performance from them in line with what we would do. And I think that is kind of an unrealistic expectation, and it sets us up to fail because, as I said, our team members would be off running their own businesses if they were, that sort of wired that way. So I think getting our expectations right is really important. And I'm not saying we should expect poor performance at all, but we should be realistic about what our team members can do. I often say to my clients, whatever time it takes you, double it. And that's not because it should take your team member double the time, but when they get the task done in less than double the time, you're really pleased, not disappointed that they were slower than you. So I think getting clear around those expectations and being realistic, and then putting in place strategies to learn to delegate and manage effectively.
I agree with everything you're saying. And I think also there's another perspective that I think is important to table here. If I'm bringing on someone to do something that I'm not very good at, and so for me, many years in my business, it was, bookkeeping, anything to do with finances, sales, certain things, I expect them to be better than me. Because I have my strengths and I know what they are. And so when we do bring in team, we want them to have the skills that we don't have. I think that where we, as leaders, and we're going to talk a little more about leadership, need to keep our finger on the pulse is to know what our outcome is for there, know what we want from that area of the business, and know enough to know that we know someone is performing well or not. We're not just abdicating because it's a black hole or a blind spot for us. Would you agree?
Absolutely. I think this is where, when we're becoming leaders in our business, we tend to sort of yo-yo between what I call being the non-boss, which is, as you said, just totally abdicating all responsibility and authority, and being the micromanager and not giving anyone any control. We're still in charge of what we want the outcome to look like, but we need to delegate the responsibility to our team to get that deliverable done within the boundaries that we set.
One of the things I know was challenging for me in the early years in my business is that I had not led a team before starting my own business. So when 2 or 3 years in, I had a small team, I was a leader for the first time. And I found it quite confronting, especially when I started to hire people who were older than me, more experienced than me, in roles that I just didn't know what to do with. And so there was probably other people who are listening or watching right now who are in that position. It's like, well, I didn't sign up to be a leader. I'm a creative, or I'm a great at, helping women with menopause, or I'm a great front row trainer, or I'm a great personal trainer, or I'm a great whatever it is. But leadership, I kind of didn't sign up for that. What are the pitfalls that we encounter when we don't embrace the CEO, the leadership role in our business?
Yeah, it can be such a challenging sort of mindset shift that we have to make to step into that role. And it's something I'm really passionate about, because the truth is we don't invest enough time or energy into developing leadership skills across any areas of business, to be honest. And the good thing is, leadership is a skill anyone can learn. There's no, yes, some people are more natural leaders than others, but everyone can learn to be a leader. But in terms of the pitfalls we fall into, I think we really fall into a couple of key traps. One is that we play that non-boss role, because a lot of business owners feel like if they're giving instruction, direction, or delegating a task, they feel like they're being bossy, and that feels to them quite mean. So they step away and hope that the employee is reading their mind and is going to get the task done. And of course, that ends up in a cycle of frustration, things not getting done, managing performance. But the problem is we haven't been clear in our communication, because like Brené Brown says, clear is kind. But in our sort of unwillingness to be direct and give communication, we're not being clear with our team. So they tend to swing between that non-boss, just abdicating that, or into micromanaging. And when we micromanage, we don't give our team members opportunity and permission to perform. We still want to control all of the things. And ultimately, when we do that, all we're doing is teaching our team members they're not allowed to think for themselves, they're not allowed to do anything for themselves without checking with us. And we become the constant bottleneck in our business, which again prohibits our growth.
It absolutely does. And in my experience of managing a community of women who are growing and scaling businesses, you get to a point where you're just so burnt out. You're like this little shell of yourself, because you just haven't been willing to either step into the leadership role, get the skills that you're talking about, Kristy-Lee, or fully delegate, because we're struggling with this letting go of control. And so what recommendations do you have as far as how do I go to having a more autonomous and effective team when in the past perhaps I have been the bottleneck, I have been unwilling to let go of control, or it also looks like this, it's like, oh, well, it'll take me half the time to do it, so I'll just do it myself.
Yeah, that's a common one. I'm much quicker at it. The truth is, when you're teaching a team member to do something, yes, it takes a little bit longer the first time whilst you're training them, maybe even the second and third time, but after that, it's off your plate. So, as they say, 80% done by someone else is better than 100% done by you. And you've really got to take on that mindset when it comes to your team, because as long as you want to hold on to all the things, again, you're stopping yourself from growing, your team from growing, and your business from growing. And I think as entrepreneurs and business owners, sometimes we wear a bit of a badge of honor about being busy and doing all the doing work. But the reality is that's stopping us from doing the real work that we are, in our zone of genius, that we are gifted to do, that only we can do. And the more busy work we're doing, the less of the real work we're getting done. So the more you can reframe it in your own mind to see that doing the busy work isn't the best use of your time, and that it is far better to use your team for that, and the opportunity that creates for you to do the work that's really important, I think it becomes easier to detach yourself from that busy work.
I love that. And I know that, I have grown into that over years, but, your whole business is supporting women to get the right people on board, to keep them motivated, to get them producing results, but also in having the leader obtain the skills and the confidence to lead more. Hiring is, of course, an important part of growing a team. What are some of the most common mistakes that you've observed, and any tips for doing it differently so that we are getting the right people in the right seats at the right time, and building a fabulous team?
Yeah, absolutely. It all starts with hiring. I have a saying that you can't outrun a bad hire. If you get the wrong person on the team at the wrong time, there ain't no turning back. You've got to absolutely get the hiring decision right. And then you can build everything else out from there. I think some of the common mistakes that we see people make is a lack of clarity about what the role actually looks like. And this sort of sounds counterintuitive. Business owners think, I know exactly what the role is. But if they don't invest some time in that planning phase to really analyse and look at what is the next role I need to hire for, what are the essential criteria, and not the laundry list of 1,000 things we are hopeful that someone's going to be able to do for us, but the really essential criteria. And getting that clarity about that role is the foundation piece that a lot of business owners skip over. They go straight to just trying to find the right person. But the truth is, unless we've got clarity about what the role looks like in detail, when we start to recruit, we go to the market without clarity and we end up looking for the wrong person because we're not clear on what we're looking for. And so we've got that clarity. That is the foundation piece. Then when we go to the marketplace and we place an ad or we start reaching out to our networks, we can be very explicit and very clear about what we're looking for. Who is this person? What do we need them to do? What are the outcomes we want to achieve? And so our recruitment becomes a lot more targeted and we get much better applicants to shortlist from. And of course, the flip side of that is you've then got to find the right person to fill that role. And that comes down to them having the right skill set, them being motivated and wanting to do this work, and most importantly, being a fit for your team, having a values alignment and really being the right cultural fit for your team. And all three things are equally important.
Wonderful. Well, alongside this interview, we're going to give you some details where you can follow up with Kristy-Lee and take a look at how she's supporting leaders to step into that leadership role and bring on amazing team members. I want to ask you, Kristy-Lee, about your business and you as a business owner. You've been in business for a number of years, just like I have. You have made some changes to your business model. And I see this all the time. We start a business, it grows into something that might be making money, might be keeping us too busy. But at some point we might decide, okay, great, I've been in business long enough now to know that the type of business that I want is this, not this. Can you speak to us about your decision to stop doing some things that have previously been a lifeline for the business to change the model? Take us behind the thinking of doing that.
It's been a process. There's no Susie, as you were aware of. But I've had an inkling and a pull for a period of time now that there is a different way to do things. And it has taken time and it's taken a lot of courage, to be honest, to make that shift really definitely away from a particular revenue stream that was very profitable and that, as you said, was the lifeline for the business for a number of years. And really it's been about the realisation that just because everyone is doing things a certain way and therefore the market has been trained and conditioned that that's how my industry does things, doesn't mean there's not a different way of doing things. And it's really my role to educate my clients and the market that there is an alternative way to doing things. And the alternative way actually empowers them a whole lot more to learn the skills they need so that they're not reliant on another provider to do things for them, but they have the skills and the knowledge and the expertise to be able to manage this themselves in the future. And it's been a real head shift for me to understand that just because this is how everyone has always done it doesn't mean there's not an alternative way. And maybe the alternative way for some businesses is better.
And you say something really important. It took a mind shift for you to say, this is what everyone else is doing, but it's okay and safe for me to try something different because that's going to be more in alignment with the business that I want. As you, and you mentioned it takes courage, and I think it really does. It takes courage to go against the grain and to really build a business that is your heart's desire, that works for you. Where are you in that process? Are you now in the process of implementing the new model? Are you still deliberating, or are you like, this is happening?
Oh, I bet this is happening. So here we are in the implementation phase. There's obviously going to be a transition period and some different things that I'm going to trial in that process. But I'm really excited about the future direction because I can now see it clearly. I think for a long time, and I think a lot of business owners would identify with this, I was stuck in the weeds of, but how am I going to make this change? Rather than being definitive about what the change could look like and then figuring out the how, I really got stuck down in that. So now that I've made that decision, it's actually cleared up a lot of headspace to navigate through that transition. So I'm in the implementation and the rebranding and lots going on behind the scenes, but I'm really excited about the opportunities it's creating.
And I love the steps that you said. I created the vision for it, and then I figured out how. I didn't start from here going, how am I going to do this? You had a clear picture, and then you worked backward from that, which is exactly how we create in our business and our lives the things that we want. Obviously, one of the considerations when we cut off a line of our business or we change our model or we change the products and services is that we're looking at a return on investment for our time and energy and that of our team. As a business owner, how do you prioritize and measure key performance indicators to let you know that, okay, this is now going to make it a more profitable or more successful business for me?
Yeah, I think there's a few things that I do. I mean, as you said, I firstly get clarity about the outcome. So I know what I'm working towards so I can measure against that. Thankfully, I'm a bit of a numbers nerd and I love numbers and data. So that's kind of helpful in this situation. So I do look at the numbers every month and every quarter and every year to make sure that things are on track. And I think from my very early days in running my first iteration of this business, I was across profit margins and revenue streams and all the nuances because I needed to monitor it as I was growing because I had quite a big team. I had 10 consultants back then. I needed to be across the numbers. So that's really gifted me an ability to very quickly see the numbers when I'm doing those check-ins. So I think having the clarity of the destination that you're sort of working towards is really helpful, but also keeping an eye on the numbers. And I'm also very intentional about what activities are going to help move me in that direction. And I'm trying to make all the decisions in my business around, is this helping me move to there or is it distracting me and taking me somewhere else, and setting daily intentions to help me get there.
I love that. And, it helps to be a numbers nerd. And even if you're not, I think there are some key metrics in any business that allow us to know I'm on track or I'm off track. And so when you think about bringing on a new product or service, knowing, like you said, how is it going to impact your time, your energy, your resources, the bottom line. But I love that you have a practice, Kristy-Lee, of regularly looking at your numbers. And once we have a team, like it's not just, there's enough money in the bank, I can pay my rent and, or whatever. It's a different sort of responsibility. And when you're working with women business owners and they're considering, if I bring on a new staff member, it's going to cost me that much. It might eat into my profit, especially when they're small businesses and they went from earning, getting all the income from the business to now having these real expenses. How do you have them think about profit and money in their businesses?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm often talking to businesses who are looking to grow those first few roles. That's where I see a lot of concern in this space. Once you get to 10 staff, you're pretty okay to manage that. But sometimes it's looking at it to say, have I got a buffer there so that I feel safe that I could pay this person's wage for, let's say, 3 months. If nothing else changed, I would feel safe. And for our risk-adverse business owners, that is a great model because they feel safe and secure in moving forward with that decision. I think that the other flip side of that is we also then leave it too late to hire, and we're in the weeds and it's really hard to get out of. So I think hiring early is really important, but being realistic about understanding what this person is going to cost you, whether they're an outsourced or a direct employee, and making sure that whatever your revenue is and your profit is, that you've got that buffer to help you navigate those first few months. And I think the thing we don't think about enough is that by employing someone in our business, it buys back our time. So if they're not dollar producing, does it allow us to be more dollar producing? And I know the last hire I made in my business, I looked at it with entirely that lens, and it gave me great clarity actually as to who I needed to hire, because it was everything that was going to free up my time to be more deliverable in my business.
Yeah, such an important point. As we bring on people, not just looking at how does that fill another gap, but it's how does it give me more time and energy to focus on the things that I want to do, or to work less, or to not be burning myself out. How many years have you been in business now?
Since 2006, so we're very
2006, so it's coming up to 20 years. Well, it's 18 years this year, right? Yeah, fantastic. Congratulations. I mean, that's a wonderful, wonderful testament to your endurance and your grit to have a business that's changed its face over the years and changed its format, but here you are still supporting business owners to grow amazing teams. You're an advisor to a whole lot of small business owners. Who are your advisors, or actually, let me reframe that. How have you used either advisory boards or mentors or peer-to-peer mentoring, or just getting other people on your team, people that weren't on payroll, but who are part of your advisory board? Has that been a part of your growth? And if so, what have been the benefits for you over that time?
Yeah, I have always been a huge advocate for getting support in my business, and for that not to be maybe family members or anyone too close to the inner circle. So I have, from the beginning of my business, really invested in mentors, business coaches, business advisors. In fact, it was one of my very early business mentors that recommended the Australian Business Women's Network, now HerBusiness, to me, and I joined her recommendation. And being part of groups like HerBusiness has just been instrumental, really, in keeping me accountable. Having a sounding board, because sometimes we feel like we're going a little crazy in business, so knowing you're surrounded by people. Having specific mentors, maybe for particular areas of growth I was focusing on, I think can be really important as well. And surrounding yourself with like-minded business people who get it. So I'm a member of the mastermind, the Her Business Marketing Success Mastermind. And that group is so powerful for me in knowing that I've got a support network. These people get what I'm trying to do, and they're always championing each other to achieve that success. So from the beginning, I have been willing and ready to invest in mentors, business coaches, advisors, and making sure I'm surrounding myself with the right people to support my business growth.
I've done the same thing. I've been in business 30 years this year, Kristy-Lee, and I know that I don't know where I would be had I not done the courses and got the mentoring and joined the mastermind and asked for the advice and had an advisory board and met with peers and like-minded women again and again and again to keep me on track. It's just made that ride so much easier. At Her Business, we have a tagline that, as a member, I'm sure you know, which is do what you love every day. What does an ideal day working in your business look like where you know I'm doing what I love?
Such a great question. And as I was reflecting on this question, I thought this morning was exactly doing what I love every day. So I love coaching, advising, guiding and supporting other business owners to achieve success in their business via their team, largely. And so first thing this morning, I was in our members' Facebook group, answering questions, providing advice, sending an email with a whole list of resources to help people move forward, answering responses on my Boxer chat with my coaching clients. And that is really what I love doing every day, seeing them say, look at me, I can do this now, and taking huge steps in their leadership journey and their boss journey, and getting unstuck in all the weeds that tends to happen when we have team and there's compliance issues and there's challenges. Just seeing them rise above that and navigating and learning those skills is what I love doing every day.
Thank you so much for joining me. I've loved this conversation. As I mentioned, check out the details around this interview to get in touch with Kristy-Lee. You're awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Susie.
I loved when Kristy-Lee said, you cannot outrun a bad hire. You get the wrong person on the team at the wrong time. There's no turning back. You got to absolutely get the hiring decision right. Now, trust me, I have tried to outrun a bad hire, but ultimately, part of becoming a great leader is making the right hiring decisions and managing those people. They are such an important part of your business growth, and our team are our greatest alliances, I feel, when we can get the hiring right. Now, if you'd like to tap into our treasure trove of leadership and management resources inside the Her Business Network, where we help women become better leaders and support them in stepping into the CEO role, then head on over to herbusinessnetwork.com and you'll immediately get access to me and other women who are growing and scaling profitable businesses and looking to become great bosses. Now, Kristy-Lee's contact information is over on our show notes page at herbusiness.com/265. I've known Kristy-Lee for many years. She has helped many of our members grow their teams and make the right hiring decisions. So I recommend that you check out her programs. She's often running free webinars. She has a membership. She has a podcast. So do check her out over at herbusiness.com/265. And if you think the Her Business Network might be the community of supportive women that you want to be around, then check us out at herbusinessnetwork.com. Now, I love doing this show for you, and I love it when one of our listeners shares the show with their friends or sends me a message. And so I want to give a big shout out today to Bridget Hallam of Throw Your Leg Over. Now you might think, what a weird business name, but let me tell you what she does. She's a digital nomad, and with her partner Alan, she runs motorcycle adventures. Very cool, right? She's ridden over 175,000 kilometers two up in Australia and Europe, and one of their favorite things, her and her partner, is to share those adventures with others. And they do that through awesome riding tours in Australia and Europe, through their motorcycle guidebooks. They have a monthly membership, and they do the European Alps tour, which, as this episode is going to air, is just about to start. So you want to check them out at throwyourlegover.com. I'll also put a link in the show notes over at herbusiness.com/265. But what did Bridget say? She said, Susie is masterful in her understanding of issues faced by female entrepreneurs and gives us the gold in how to manage them. I press play on each episode of the Her Business podcast, knowing that I'm about to learn something useful to apply to our business. By the end, I either have clarity that I'm on the right track or a practical strategy to get on track, or both. Just priceless. Big thanks and big respect. 5 stars. Bridget, thank you so much. I really appreciate you listening, and I love that you're getting value from the show. So if you're a new listener, a couple of things. 1, subscribe to the show. We have new episodes coming out every week. 2, check out the Her Business Network. That's where the magic happens, where I work closely with women business owners like Bridget to help them grow their business. Now, if you have any questions, you can email me at podcast@herbusiness.com. As I said, if you're new to the show, be sure to subscribe and join me next time right here on the Her Business Podcast. Bye for now.